Hi, Dave Dinkel again here with his 2-minute tip. Sure. So what happened to me in the past is after 40 years of doing deals, I realized that sometimes a seller would get an offer from another investor after I had it under contract, call me up and say, "Hey Dave, I decided not to close. Can I get out of my contract?" And I graciously would say, "I'm not a bad guy, sure." Now, that's the good old days. Nowadays, not so lucky. We enforce the contract legally, because what's happened is people don't just change their mind. They get a higher offer from another investor, and typically the other investor doesn't pay more money. When he gets to closing, he doesn't close. They're forced to take much less money. So anyway, after this happened to me a couple times, I went to one of my attorneys and I said, "Look, I need to notify other people that are coming to close that new contract that I in fact have a contract. I want the closing agent to be aware that they're not closing that free and clear. They're closing it with a blight on the title or a clouded title." So he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to file a notice of interest. I'm notifying the public who comes in, or the closing agent, attorney doing the title work, or whoever it is. I have a valid contract." He said, "Well, let's put a notice of interest together." So we did. And I said to him, "Wait a minute. I signed this, and I have it notarized, and I put it in the public record, but wouldn't it be much more powerful if I had the homeowner sign it?" And he said, "Oh, absolutely. That means I have to carry a traveling notary with me. That's not going to happen." So what I did is I put together what I called a memorandum of contract. And what I did with that is I literally used an exhibit. First of all, I used my notice of interest. I signed it. I notarized it. I filed it, but I attached as an exhibit the actual contract itself that the homeowner had signed. So the homeowner didn't have to notarize it, but it was a memorandum of an actual contract. So that seemed to work pretty darn well. And then a few years ago I was doing a seminar, and I noticed that there was a couple in the audience up pretty close to the front, and they seemed to be, I could see they were shaking their head yes, and I mean they were really excited about what I was saying, and that went on for 2 days. Now, they never reserved a seat for the seminar. What they did is they literally rushed in virtually when we opened the door, signed up. And after the 2 days, I said to them, "Hi, guys, did you have a good time?" And they said, "Amazing." I said, "Oh, well, good. What'd you learn?" And they said, well, they were going on about some of the insurance aspects that I talk about, getting money from insurance claims and so on. They said, "But one of the things that was really interesting to us was that notice of interest memorandum of contract you talked about." Well, it was very interesting to them because they went back and they filed 127, I heard, and it may have been more than that. They never had any intent of closing on the properties that they signed an original contract on. They just signed a contract, didn't come to closing, filed it in the public record, and when the closing agent came along and said, "We need a release," they said, "Not a problem." And as I understand it from other people over there, hearsay, but nonetheless, they were getting $3,500 to $5,000 to release every one of those. So they were reported to the state, and rightfully so. And the state went to the legislature, and the legislature came back and said, "No notice of interest." So, gee whiz, what do we do? There is a solution. This is important. If you have a contract, you have to pursue it. So now if you look in the public record, you may not see a notice of interest, you may not see a memorandum of contract, but you might see an affidavit, simply an affidavit. Now, if you go down to file your notice of interest, memorandum of contract, or affidavit, and the clerk says, "I don't know what this is," it's not her. She's not an attorney. She's not there to interpret the law. You're not putting anything in the public record you shouldn't put in the public record. And ultimately, if you have to go to the county attorney to get it recorded, do it. You're simply making a statement of fact in the public record. That's all you're doing. And will it protect you? That's the great question. Because here's what you can get into. Attorneys will do what's called writing over your notice of interest, memorandum of contract, or your affidavit. What does that mean? It means that they go out on the line and say, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and write this so that it's a fee simple title, clear and marketable title. It's not an exception to the title." And in most cases, the investor who doesn't know any better doesn't do anything about it. But you can do something about it. Now again, you need an attorney on your side It's going to take forceful action against people that are taking advantage of you. And if you're saying to yourself, gee, how often does this stuff happen? Not often, but the money is huge, because it's not simply the money you should have made. It can be damages far in excess. And typically they're not going to go to court. Remember, contracts are black and white. In my last 2-minute tip, my camera was flashing, battery went down, so I had to restart. What does it mean? It means plug yourself in and do what you got to do before you get there. Spend some time on doing what you need to do as a career, a business. Read the contracts. Don't assume anyone else is on your side when you go into a transaction. And in this case, memorandum of contract, notice of interest, affidavit, and comes back as a release of lien. Now, again, one of the closing agents that I've used for a number of years said to me, I think a month ago, Dave, I didn't tell you this, but I did 3 of those notice of interests last year. And I said to him, and? He said, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. I got $3,500, $5,000, and $7,500 to do a release, and I wouldn't have made that much on 2 of the deals. So there goes your 2-minute tip in, gosh knows how much time, another 5 minutes. Thanks very much.